What I was seeing was unbelievable. My chest constricted as I gazed at my phone's screen, which showed my mother sitting at our family dinner table with a glass of wine in her hand. She was mocked at, utterly oblivious that she was being broadcast on the internet. "Oh, please!" My mother rolled her eyes dramatically and scoffed. "My daughter believes she is successful because she sells houses. She is now a desperate failure, stumbling through life after failing miserably in nursing school. An hour ago, I received an SMS from my cousin Jenna. This is something you must see. I'm so sorry." As part of her continuous effort to establish herself as a social media influencer, she included a link to her most recent live stream. The family got together for Sunday supper while I was out of town, attending a real estate conference in Providence, and I had barely checked into my hotel room when the message arrived. Sinead Sullivan is my name. I am 32 years old, and I have been discreetly covering my mother's medical expenses for the last 5 years, following her diagnosis of rheumatoid disease. In order to keep up my real estate business in Boston, I had been working 60-hour weeks, taking care of her insurance paperwork, paying for her prescription drugs, and driving her to appointments. Nobody at the dinner table was aware that last year, after her insurance rejected funding for a specialized treatment, I had spent all of my funds. My mother, who seemed to enjoy the attention from my aunts and uncles, went on in the film, "It's such a shame. She had all these lofty aspirations of becoming a nurse, but now she only sells homes to successful people." She chuckled. To my dismay, I could also hear my aunt and uncle laughing with her. Everything was captured via Jenna's camera. I saw that she was shooting from her lap, most likely in an effort to remain discreet while capturing her family's daily activities for her social media fans. My mother's statements were all the more upsetting because she was unaware that she was being filmed. "Do you recall her nursing school dropout?" My mom looked at my aunt. She sobbed when she got home since the tests were so difficult. "Horrible! These days she behaves as though she is selling a property every few months, contributes to her success. In actuality, I had postponed my nursing studies just to assist her in her time of need. Even though I was earning a respectable living from real estate, every extra dollar I made went into her medical expenses rather than her education. Sinead simply lacks the necessary skills." In a theatrical gesture, my mother reached for her wine glass. I had bought the same wine for family dinners. Real achievement simply isn't for everyone. Jenna eventually turned the camera away after another agonizing minute of the live video. As the harsh reality set in, I remained still in my hotel room, tears running down my cheeks. I had convinced myself for years that my mother's scathing remarks were simply her way of venting her frustrations, or her antiquated method of inspiring others. However, this was not a brief slip-up. This was her real self. There was now indisputable evidence. Once more my phone buzzed. Jenna texted me again. "I'm so sorry that you had to witness it. It was too late for me to comprehend what she was saying. Would you like me to remove the video?" For a long time I gazed at the message. "No," I typed back, "so don't bother. I have something to show you. Tomorrow, when I return." The following morning's drive back from Providence was a haze. I hardly recalled the 2-hour drive home or checking out of the motel. My mother's laughing as she made fun of the career I had developed to support her kept playing in my head. My life had taken a totally different turn 5 years prior. I was prospering at the age of 27, halfway through my nursing program. I had always aspired to become a nurse in order to serve others and change the world. Then came the call that made all the difference. Mom had been taken to the hospital after collapsing at work. The diagnosis, severe rheumatoid arthritis that would need constant care and attention. "It's unfair." From her hospital bed, she had sobbed, "How am I going to pay for all of this?" Not much is covered by the insurance. I had sworn to aid while holding her hand. "Together, we'll figure it out, Mom." When I was in high school, my father died, so my mother and I had to rely on one another. I thought our relationship was important, even in spite of her critiques and sometimes harsh remarks. Growing up, she had made sacrifices for me by working extra hours and ensuring that I had chances. It was now my turn to take the initiative. In a matter of months, I decided to put my nursing studies on hold. Real estate offered the possibility of substantial income and flexible work schedules. I could take care of Mom, drive her to appointments, and still make enough money to pay for our rising costs. It was only meant to be a short-term measure until she stabilized. Only temporarily, until I could save up enough to go back to school. Became years. The treatments had improved Mom's condition, but she still required physical therapy, frequent specialist appointments, and costly medications. I would take over as her only healthcare manager, devoting hours to researching therapy alternatives and haggling with insurance companies. Sometimes she would say, "You've become so responsible," and there would be infrequent moments of gratitude. I had been able to get through many long nights and demanding work weeks because to those remarks. After pulling into my driveway, I sat quietly. I hadn't informed my mother that I would be returning today. I was still in Providence, she believed. At the conference, I had the chance to network with other realtors, but I would have missed it after watching the video. It buzzed on my phone. Jenna texted, "I'm at the Maple Coffee Shop. May meet at any time you're prepared." I inhaled deeply and made an effort to arrange my ideas. I opened my laptop bag and took out the Mom Medical folder. It contained a painstakingly detailed account of all the payments I had made during the previous 5 years. All insurance premiums, co-pays for prescription drugs, and visits to specialists are documented with bank statements and receipts. I never thought these documents would be used as proof of betrayal. I had been storing them for tax considerations. After gathering the folder and taking another deep breath to regain my composure, I texted Jenna back. "Arrive in 15 minutes." Despite the crowded coffee shop, I quickly recognized Jenna. Her vivid blue hair and large headphones made her stand out at the age of 16. She wrinkled her face with guilt when she saw me. As I sat down, she blurted, "I'm so sorry, kid." I was unaware that she would say such things. I was just doing what I always do when I live stream. Then Aunt Patricia began about you. "And it's not your fault that it became so cruel." I interrupted her digression. "In fact, I must express my gratitude." Jenna appeared perplexed. "For what do you thank me?" Putting the medical folder on the table, I opened it to find 5 years' worth of insurance letters, appointment schedules, and payment records that told me the truth. Silently, I said, "I have been covering all of her expenses, including her prescription drugs, medical bills, and insurance payments." As Jenna turned through the papers, her eyes grew wide. "It's thousands of dollars!" I verified that it was truly above $100,000. For her, I put my whole life on hold. My savings, my nursing degree, and even my relationships. I believed she needed me, so I put everything on hold. Jenna raised her gaze from the documents. Her face changed from one of surprise to one of rage. "Additionally, she labels you a failure. It's really messed up." I nodded as an eerie serenity descended upon me. I always believed that she was encouraging me with her critiques, that she valued what I was accomplishing despite everything. I gave a sour laugh. I guess I was mistaken. "What will you do then?" Jenna inquired. As I talked, my decision solidified and I reclaimed the folder. "I'm finished. I've already prepared the necessary documentation to delete my name from her accounts." "You won't go up against her." I gave a headshake. Why would it matter? She would simply say I'm being overly sensitive or deny it. I took my phone out and opened the banking app. In the hopes of eventually going back to nursing school, I've been setting aside a small amount of money every month. That's exactly what I'm going to do with it now. As I was speaking, I moved the money into my personal savings account that I had set up for my mother's upcoming medical treatments. Even though the action was minor, it seemed enormous. "Whoa," Jenna muttered. "Are you certain?" "I've never been more certain of anything," I said, astonished at how composed my voice sounded. She rejects everything I do that ends today, but I've been her safety net for 5 years. I told Jenna that I was not going to postpone again after showing her the admission letter I had received from the nursing program months prior. I had almost done so because of Mom's planned treatments, which I began in the fall. Jenna grabbed my hand as she reached across the table. "In case you require the entire video, I will forward it to you." I could feel the burden of years of commitment easing as we said our goodbyes. I was choosing myself for the first time in a long time. Instead of the shame I had anticipated, I felt a feeling of clarity and purpose that had been lacking for far too long. When I called the insurance company, the agent sounded perplexed. Do you wish to take your place as Patricia Sullivan's account guarantor? Could you tell me why, for private reasons? My voice was remarkably steady as I answered. After this month, I will no longer be liable for any payments. Day 3 of my new resolution was upon me. I had been in a productive tizzy all weekend, composing emails, changing payment details, and phoning insurance providers. As I methodically destroyed the financial web I'd built to assist my mother, papers littered my dining room table. The salesperson went on, "Miss Sullivan, I should let you know that your mother's coverage options may change, and her premium would rise significantly if you don't support her." "I get it." I stopped. "Would you kindly provide her home address with a formal letter outlining these changes? I want to make sure she knows everything." I was fully aware of what I was doing. In a week, the letter would arrive, allowing me to finish the rest of my preparations before the impending showdown. Since yesterday, my mother's messages have been ringing on my phone. She had anticipated me to take her to a doctor's visit this morning, but she had no idea what I was doing. "I hadn't arrived. You're where it's been an hour since I started waiting. The office of the doctor called. My insurance card was denied, they said. As soon as possible, fix it. Are you not paying attention to me? Respond to your fucking phones. Every message you sent me made me more determined." I put my phone on silent and went back to work. I had finished the most of the financial separations by nightfall and had advanced to the following stage. I got my laptop open and started writing a single well-crafted email that I would send to my entire extended family. Kindly family. After giving it some thought, I have decided to step down from overseeing my mother's medical treatment and financial assistance. I have paid for all of her medical bills for the last 5 years, which has come to more than $120,000. Insurance premiums, prescription drug prices, doctor visits, and various therapies have all been included in this. Although I made this decision for personal reasons, I wanted to let everyone know. Because my mother might need help in the future, a thorough summary of the assistance I've given throughout the years is attached. If any of you want to assist, I want you to know that I didn't make this decision lightly. Sinead, best regards. I included the spreadsheet I had made, which detailed each payment appointment and hour spent overseeing her care. The proof was indisputable. As promised, my cousin Jenna emailed me the entire Livestream footage. I saved several copies of it after downloading it. One to a USB drive, one to my PC, and one to my cloud storage. Although I didn't have any definite plans for the video just yet, I had a feeling it could be required. I was startled through the crowds when the doorbell rang. On my doorstep, I noticed my mother. Anger twisted at her face. I took a step back, sneered. My heart was pounding. "You're in there, I know that. Now open this door." I said nothing as I saw her shadow pass under the door. "3 of my calls have been missed by you. The drugstore refused to refill my prescription. What are you doing?" I inhaled deeply before speaking firmly through the door. "Mom, I'm not doing this any longer. Information from the insurance company will be sent to you shortly. I advise you to thoroughly read it. What are you discussing?" "This door needs to be opened." "No." On my lips, the one word had a strong feeling. "I've heard your true thoughts about me. We both need to go on with our lives, in my opinion." Before she exploded, there was a minute of bewildered silence. Is money at stake here following all that I have done for you? The irony almost made me laugh. "Mom, goodbye. Please do not return." I moved away from the door as her protest became louder, going back to my laptop with every step to complete the task I had begun. I felt as though I was finally getting rid of a weight that I had been carrying for a very long time. Within hours of sending my email, the fallout quickly materialized. There were so many notifications on my phone. My abandonment surprised and horrified Aunt Maureen. Uncle James believed that I was being nasty and self-centered. Thomas, my cousin, suggested that I settle any minor arguments I was having with my mother. Just Jenna. Surprisingly, my old Aunt Bridget also appeared to comprehend. Bridget had a straightforward message. "You have to have guts to defend yourself, my love. If you need anything, give me a call." First, I blocked my mom's number. I then muted each family member who didn't want to hear my side of the tale one at a time. The quiet that ensued was oddly tranquil. I completed my fall semester enrollment 3 days later while sitting in the Boston City Nursing School admissions office. The advisor looked over my file and stated, "Miss Sullivan, you haven't been in the program for a while. However, you have a solid academic history. To find out if you need to attend any refresher courses, you will have to take a placement exam." "I understand," I said with a jolt of enthusiasm. As I crossed campus, I instantly began going over my old textbooks. After that, I experienced a sense of community that had been absent for years. I was supposed to be following my own goals here, rather than live to satisfy the demands of others. I had already begun planning, but my real estate business would need to change to fit my class schedule. I would hire a part-time assistant to help with administrative duties, concentrate on higher-value homes, and work with fewer clients. When I got back home, I could make ends meet without my mother's bills, but the income would be diminished. I received a formal-looking envelope in the mail. It contained an insurance company letter that was sent to my mother but ended up at my address. It explained the substantial price hike as well as the modifications to her coverage, now that the guarantor was no longer me. I ought to have felt bad. Rather, I felt validated. My phone rang. "Have you noticed what's going on in the family group chat, Jenna?" she asked without preamble. "I left all those chats," I admitted. "What's happening?" "Your mom is telling everyone you've had some kind of mental breakdown. She's saying you've been under stress from your failing business, and that's why you're acting out." I could hear the air quotes in Jenna's voice. "She's completely twisting everything around." I sighed, unsurprised. Classic deflection. She didn't realize I was still in the chat, and she's convinced Aunt Maureen to let her move in temporarily until she sorts out her medical situation. "Of course she has," I said, shaking my head. Mom's always been good at finding someone to rescue her. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and found myself staring at the video file Jenna had sent the live stream that had changed everything. I hadn't watched it since that first devastating viewing in my hotel room. My finger hovered over the play button. There was power in this recording. Power to show everyone exactly who my mother was behind closed doors to vindicate myself in the face of her lies. But did I need that vindication? "I spent over $100,000 on your care. I drove you to every appointment, managed every prescription, fought with insurance companies on your behalf. And in return, you called me pathetic. You mocked my career, the career I built specifically to support you." My hands were shaking, but my voice remained steady. "I sent proof to everyone in the family, every payment, every appointment, every sacrifice. So don't stand there and act like I'm the villain in this story." Aunt Maureen was looking at my mother differently, no doubt creeping into her expression. "Patricia," she said slowly, "what exactly was in this video?" My mother ignored her, focusing her desperation on me. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but this is an extreme overreaction. I'm facing serious health complications. I'm aware." I replied calmly, "And I've provided you with 5 years of continuous support. Now it's someone else's turn." I turned to Aunt Maureen. "She's living with you now, right? Has she asked you for money yet? How many doctor's appointments have you driven her to? How many prescriptions have you picked up?" Aunt Maureen's silence was answer enough. "That's what I thought," I said, turning back to my car. "I wish you both well, but I won't be manipulated anymore. This isn't over." My mother called after me. "You can't just walk away from family." I paused with my hand on the car door. "You're right about one thing, Mom. Family doesn't walk away from family, but family also doesn't tear each other down or take advantage of each other. So maybe ask yourself who really walked away first." As I drove off, I glanced in my rearview mirror. My mother was gesturing wildly clearly, berating Aunt Maureen for something. Some things never change, I thought. But I had changed, and as I headed home to continue studying for my nursing exam, I realized I didn't feel guilty anymore. For the first time in years, I felt free. 3 months passed in a blur of activity. I asked my nursing placement exam, enrolled in the accelerated program for students returning to education, and reorganized my real estate business to accommodate my new schedule. I hired Kylie, a bright college student, as my part-time assistant to handle paperwork and coordinate showings. When I was in class, the transition wasn't seamless. There were late nights, scheduling conflicts, and the occasional bout of self-doubt, but each small victory reaffirmed that I'd made the right choice. The weight I'd been carrying for years had lifted, and I approached each day with renewed energy and purpose. My family situation had reached an uneasy stalemate after our confrontation in the parking lot. My mother had apparently shown her true colors to Aunt Maureen, who quietly reached out to me a week later. "I had no idea what you'd been dealing with," she admitted over coffee. "Patricia told me you were being difficult and selfish. I should have asked for your side of the story." "It's okay," I replied, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Mom has always been good at controlling the narrative. The Boston Real Estate Association's annual award ceremony wasn't something I'd paid much attention to in previous years. I'd been too busy managing my mother's care to attend industry events. But when my broker nominated me for the Resilience and Real Estate Award, recognizing agents who overcame significant challenges while maintaining their business, I was touched. "You're a shoo-in," my colleague Jeffrey insisted during our weekly office meeting. "You've closed more deals than anyone else in the office while starting nursing school." If that's not resilience, I don't know what is. I didn't expect to win, but I was looking forward to the ceremony, a chance to celebrate how far I'd come professionally and personally. The evening of the ceremony arrived, and I found myself in a hotel ballroom surrounded by Boston's real estate community. I wore a dark blue dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion, my first non-work-related splurge in years after grabbing a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. I mingled with colleagues and reconnected with industry contacts I hadn't seen in ages. She Sullivan called out a familiar voice. I turned to see Margot Stevens, one of the most successful brokers in Boston. "I was hoping to see you here. I've been hearing great things about your work in the Brookline market." We chatted about recent property trends, and I found myself easily engaged in the conversation. A welcome change from the distracted, overwhelmed person I'd been for years. My phone vibrated in my clutch. I ignored it at first, fully present in the professional moment I was enjoying. When it vibrated again a minute later, I excused myself and glanced at the screen. 5 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize, and a text message. "It's Jenna. Using Uncle Patrick's phone, emergency callback ASAP." A knot formed in my stomach. I stepped into a quiet hallway and returned the call. "Jenna, what's going on? I'm so sorry to bother you." Jenna said, her voice tense. "I'm at the hospital with your mom. She fell, and they think it might be a reaction to her new medication. She's asking for you." I closed my eyes, waiting for the familiar wave of guilt and obligation to wash over me. It came, but it was different now. Manageable, not overwhelming. "Is she stable?" I asked. "Yes, but they're keeping her overnight for observation." I didn't want to call, but Uncle Patrick insisted. I heard muffled voices, then a shuffling sound as the phone changed hands. "Sinead, Patrick here. Look, I know things have been difficult, but your mother needs you. The doctors have questions about her medical history that we can't answer as we spoke." I saw the ceremony attendees moving into the main ballroom. The awards presentation would be starting soon. "I understand," I said, making my decision. "But I'm at an important work event right now. I can come by the hospital afterward." "This is your mother we're talking about." Patrick's voice hardened. "Surely whatever party you're at can wait." The old Sinead would have acquiesced immediately, abandoning her own needs for her mother's. But I wasn't that person anymore. "I'll be there in about 2 hours," I said firmly. "Please tell the doctors I'll answer any questions then. And Patrick, thank you for being there for her." I ended the call and took a deep breath as I turned to rejoin the ceremony. I caught my reflection in a decorative mirror. Shoulders back, head high, eyes clear. For the first time in years, I recognized myself, and the winner of the Resilience and Real Estate Award goes to Sinead Sullivan. The room erupted in applause as my name was announced. For a moment, I sat frozen in shock. I genuinely hadn't expected to win. Jeffrey nudged me with his elbow, grinning broadly, as I rose and made my way to the stage. The crystal trophy felt substantial in my hands as I approached the microphone. Looking out at the audience, I saw colleagues, mentors, and competitors united in recognition of my work. The validation was overwhelming. "Thank you." I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "This means more to me than I can express. The past few years have been challenging, balancing a demanding career with personal obligations. There were many days when I wasn't sure I could keep going. I paused, thinking of the countless nights I'd spent researching treatment options for my mother, the early mornings rushing to prepare for showings after sleepless nights of worry. But real estate isn't just about selling homes, it's about resilience. adapting to changing markets, overcoming obstacles, and finding solutions when it seems impossible. Those same skills helped me navigate my personal challenges and eventually find my way back to my original passion. Nursing. The crowd murmured with interest at this revelation. I'm now pursuing my nursing degree while continuing to serve my real estate clients, and I couldn't be happier. So this award isn't just for professional resilience, it's a reminder that we can reinvent ourselves at any point in our lives. Thank you for this honor. The applause followed me back to my seat, where Jeffrey and our other colleagues congratulated me with enthusiastic handshakes and hugs. As the ceremony wrapped up, several people approached to ask about my nursing studies, genuinely interested in my unconventional career path. By the time I checked my phone again, it was nearly 900 years. I had 3 more missed calls from Uncle Patrick and a text from Jenna. She's stable. Take your time. I gathered my things, said my goodbyes, and headed for my car. The trophy carefully wrapped in my tote bag. The hospital was a 20-minute drive across town, and I used the time to mentally prepare for the inevitable confrontation. When I arrived at the hospital room, I found my mother sitting up in bed, looking remarkably alert for someone who had supposedly experienced a serious medical emergency. Uncle Patrick sat in a visitor's chair beside her while Jenna stood awkwardly near the window. Finally, my mother said as I entered, her tone acidic, "Nice of you to fit us into your busy schedule." I set my tote bag down, the corner of the trophy box visible. "Hello, Mom." I came as soon as my event was over. "How are you feeling?" "How do you think I'm feeling?" I collapsed. "I could have died, and you were too busy partying to care." Uncle Patrick cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. The doctor said it was likely a reaction to the new medication. They've adjusted the dosage, and she should be fine to go home tomorrow. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. That's good news. I'm glad it wasn't more serious. My mother's face contorted with frustration at my calm demeanor. "This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't abandoned me. My new insurance is useless. I can't afford half my medications. And these new doctors don't understand my condition like my specialists did." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said sincerely. It must be difficult adjusting to new healthcare providers. My measured response seemed to infuriate her further. "Is that all you have to say after what you've put me through?" I glanced at Jenna, whose expression reflected a mix of embarrassment and sympathy. She gave me a subtle nod of encouragement. "Mom," I said quietly, "I supported you for 5 years. I put my life on hold to make sure you had the best possible care. I did everything I could for you, and in return, you called me a desperate failure. You mocked the career that paid for your treatments. You laughed at my dreams." Uncle Patrick frowned. "What are you talking about?" "You need?" Jenna stepped forward. "The video, Uncle Patrick. The live stream I accidentally recorded at dinner a few months ago. Mom didn't tell you about that." My mother's face paled. "That's completely irrelevant. Sinead is twisting things out of context to justify her selfish behavior." I reached into my tote bag and pulled out the trophy, setting it on the bedside table. The crystal caught the light, the engraving clearly visible. "Resilience in real estate signage. Sullivan. I won an award tonight." I explained it to Uncle Patrick for maintaining a successful business despite significant challenges. Those challenges included supporting Mom financially and medically for 5 years while she belittled my achievements behind my back. Understanding dawned on Uncle Patrick's face as he looked from the trophy to my mother's defensive expression. "I didn't come here to argue," I continued. "I came because you needed medical information, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. I don't wish you ill, Mom. I never have. I just couldn't keep sacrificing my life for someone who didn't appreciate it." The room fell silent. For once, my mother had no sharp retort. No manipulation tactic. "Ready?" She simply stared at the trophy, visible proof of the success she'd dismissed so callously. "I should go," I said softly. "I have an early class tomorrow. Jenna, can I give you a ride home?" As we left the room, I heard Uncle Patrick speaking to my mother in a hushed, questioning tone. The conversation I'd been avoiding for months was finally happening, but this time, I wouldn't be the one fighting to be heard. 3 months later, I stood in my crisp white uniform, hands steady, as I administered an IV to my patient. My nursing instructor nodded approvingly as she observed my technique. "Excellent work, Sullivan. Your clinical skills are advancing quickly." I smiled as I secured the line. "Thank you. It feels like everything's finally clicking into place." After completing my shift at the teaching hospital, I headed to my car, pausing to check my phone. A text from Gina lit up my screen. "Prof. Such interview going viral. 20K views already?" I laughed, shaking my head in amazement. Last week, I'd been interviewed by the Boston Medical Journal about career changers entering nursing later in life. The interviewer had been particularly interested in how my real estate experience had prepared me for healthcare. Both fields require attention to detail, strong communication skills, and the ability to help people through major life transitions. I'd explained, and both taught me the importance of boundaries, something every healthcare professional needs. As I drove home, my phone rang through the car's Bluetooth, an unknown number. "Hello, Sinead, it's Patrick." My uncle's voice sounded hesitant. "Do you have a minute?" I tensed slightly. "Is everything okay?" "Yes." "Everything's fine. He paused. "I saw your interview. It was quite inspiring." "Thank you," I replied, surprised by the compliment. "Your mother saw it too," he added quietly. I waited, bracing myself for news of her latest criticism or complaint. She didn't say much. Patrick continued, "But I think seeing you in that nursing uniform, it finally made things real for her. You really are doing it, becoming a nurse, just like you always wanted." I pulled into my driveway, letting the car idle as I processed his words. "I'm proud of you, Sinead," he said, filling the silence. "And I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening sooner." The simple acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Patrick. That means a lot." After we hung up, I sat for a moment reflecting on how much had changed in less than a year. The trophy from the real estate awards sat on my mantle now, next to my nursing textbooks, physical reminders of my past achievements and future goals. My mother and I still weren't speaking, but that was okay. I had stopped expecting validation from someone incapable of giving it. Instead, I found it in my own accomplishments, in the patients who thanked me for my care, in the professional recognition that validated my choices. As I entered my home, my sanctuary, I smiled at the stack of nursing journals on my coffee table. Tonight, I would study for next week's exam. Perhaps call Gina later to catch up. Tomorrow, I had 2 property showings scheduled between classes. My life was full purposeful and entirely my own. The phone call from Patrick was an unexpected grace note. Not necessary for my happiness, but welcome nonetheless. Whether my mother ever came to terms with my decision didn't define me anymore. I had reclaimed my path, my future, and most importantly, my sense of self-worth. And that I realized as I settled into study was the greatest victory of all.